starts on Monday. One of the reasons I love math is because it adjusts to your level. So the more questions you get right, the harder it gets and the more points you are earning. So I always like to see what kind of questions you guys get to see, wow, you got some hard questions. So it's always cool to see how far you guys can go on these math tests. So that will start on Monday. Okay, so yesterday we traced our left hand to the best of our abilities, and we called our pinky the minimum, the lower quartile, your middle finger the median, upper quartile, and maximum. We created at the end of the period our box and whisker plot. The whiskers, you basically plot all these points, the minimum, the maximum, the median, the lower quartile, and the upper quartile. So the left hand is very important for this. All right, so let's look at our packet on page 4. So I have my left hand here to help me out, and I'm going to open up to page 4. Page 4. Okay, the incubation time in days of different types of birds are observed and plot has been drawn. Read the plot and answer the questions. Okay, so so Alana, we're not answering the questions just yet. What I want to know is, what does the first dot mean? Minimum. What does the second dot mean? First quartile or lower quartile? It depends. What does the third dot mean? Median. What does the fourth dot mean? Third or upper quartile. And then the last one is maximum. Okay, stop. Remember, I'm not worried right now about the answers. I'm going to teach you something new. Or not. Maybe you know. Let me check. Does anybody know, or use common sense, what each section is worth as a percent? 20? 20, 40, 60, 80?
25.
You pay attention. So, what is this worth as a percent? Then this one?
25.
Is that up to 100?
Yes.
Yeah. So each section is worth 25%. So, I can't remember the question they asked you what the percent is. I'll figure it out by the end of the period. So each section is 25. So sometimes we skip over that and don't teach you that each section is 25% or 50%, 75%. This could be 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%. Okay? All right. Maybe they'll ask you in these. All right. Now let's answer the questions. So each section is 25%. Put that in the back of your brain. Okay. Write the first quartile from the given plot. So what would be the first quartile? What is the value of the first quartile? Ooh, I drew a line. What would it be? 15.5. It's actually above the 15. It's a trick question. Okay, what's the maximum incubation time? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 35. What is the median? I would say 20.5. Okay, I think that's the only one with decimals. All right, let's give you a minute to do the bottom one. Set timer for 1 minute. Ooh, I like the questions. What's another word for least number? Minimum. Least number is minimum.
There's no decimals on this one, you said? Yeah, I think there's a decimal on the last one.
On the last one, there's a decimal.
On upper quartile or maximum?
Third quartile.
I agree. All right. Median? What's the median?
40.
Least number?
34.
And third quartile?
45.
Like it. All right. Moving right along. Okay, the data of the per capita. Okay. First quartile, range, and third quartile. How do I find the range? Given a box and whisker plot. How do I find the range? Yeah, so the biggest number minus smallest number, otherwise known as maximum minus minimum. Because it's a box and whisker plot, we gotta look for the maximum, and we gotta look for the minimum, and subtract those. So what would be your maximum number? Not from the number line. Because then I have some kids think like, well, Miss O'Malley, isn't the maximum number 9 because it's on the number line? And it's like, well, did we use 9? Nope. So we don't look at the number line. Look at the last dot. What is the last dot? Oh my gosh, it's so hard. So difficult. I agree. What's the minimum? Mm-hmm. So we're subtracting decimals. Are we done? Okay, first quartile. First quartile is not the first dot. First quartile is the second dot, so it would be, yeah. And what's the range? Uh-huh. And then the third quartile? Yep, I agree with that. What? It was 3 minus 4.7?
Yes.
So it would be a 4.7 minus 3. Whatever that answer is. Okay. The weight of basketball players in pounds is plotted. All right. So, boop. 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 Median, maximum, the inner quartile range. Does anybody know? Set timer for 1 minute. Set timer for 1 minute. Let's see what you guys can come up with. What's the median? 189. What's the max? Okay. Inner quartile range. Yes. Yes. 10. Okay, how do you do it?
You just do the third quartile minus the first quartile.
Yes. So inner quartile range. So range is the max minus the minimum, right? The biggest number minus the smallest number. But when it's inner quartile, you're just looking at the quartiles. You're just looking at the quartiles. So it would be, this one would be upper quartile minus lower quartile, or third quartile minus second quartile. What's the upper quartile? 199 minus, what's the lower quartile? 181. Yep. So what is our inner quartile range? 18, not 10.
I got it wrong. I was looking at the minimum.
Yeah, so you gotta be careful. So if it says inner quartile range, you're just looking at the quartiles and the range between the quartiles. Okay, the range between the quartiles. All right, cool, cool, cool. Can anybody guess what you're gonna be taking pictures of today? Yeah, well, yeah. Everything I didn't write down. So basically, if I'm not writing it down, that probably means I'm gonna have you take a picture of it. All right. Now we gotta plot them. So it's a little bit more work. What do you think is the first thing we should do?
Put them in order.
Put them in order. Definitely put them in order. We're just gonna do 2 of these. Which 2 do you guys want to do?
1 and 2. Just 'cause
All right. What is the smallest number for number 1? Yep. Cross them out as you go. And if you miss one, you can always squeeze it in. So put the numbers in order, just like your count.
You missed 37.
What did I miss? Okay, so when I miss one, I'm just going to plug it in right there. 37, right? So I skipped that one accidentally. Now you can't even see it because it's so small. But it's there, 37. Thank you very much. So I have to squeeze it in there. Mm-hmm. I think number 2 is easier. That should be worth like 1,000 points. You have to include the 48. So here's our median. So 40 is your your lower quartile or your quartile 1. Now, third quartile, I'm going to cross out the 50 because I haven't used it. 50, 68. Okay, what's our upper quartile?
59.
All right, so now that you have your data, now you get to plot. Eldon, you only plot these 5 numbers. That's it. You don't plot any of the whole point of doing a box and whisker plot is that you don't plot these numbers. There's too many numbers to plot. So what do we plot? These 5 important numbers. The minimum, the maximum, the lower quartile, the upper quartile, and the median. So you just need 5 dots. So just plot 5 dots. 5 dots. That's it. Just 5 dots. All you're doing is plotting 5 dots. Can we stop? Again? So 5 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? And then the two in the front are your whiskers, and then your box, and your box. Yes, let's go ahead and start. I want to see if I can find some of the questions. All right, we're starting on number 2. Yep. Ah, here it is. Great worksheet. Okay, Sam, we're moving on. Triangles. I'm trying to help you improve your score on the map. Sorry. All right, triangles. Yes. So some of you might know this to help us out. If you have a triangle and you add up all of the angles in a triangle, what's the sum? So if I add up angle A plus angle B plus angle C, it has to equal 180 degrees. All triangles, if it's a proper triangle, all triangles must add up to 180 degrees. So it actually ends up being a straight angle. Can we stop? That's extremely rude. If you were to take a triangle that you created, so here's my triangle, right? Here's angle 1, 2, 3. It's a weird looking 3, but there it is. And I were to tear off the 3 angles and line them up using my notebook, it creates a 180 degrees. So no matter what triangle you're dealing with, if you cut out the angles, it makes a straight 180 degree angles. Okay? So here would be the easiest question they could ask you. If it's not on your map, it's on your SBAC. End of April.
Which one's more important?
Both. When they're both equally as important. The map.
Well, I think we are you going to grade us?
Only for extra credit.
Like, do teachers grade them for points? No. Some people do.
Okay, so Ben, how would I set up this problem? How would I find x? Sam?
X equals plus x plus 75 plus 3 equals 20.
Good.
X plus 100.
But he was brave enough to actually provide an answer more than find x. You can combine these two or you can subtract them however you want. So what is x equal to? 55 degrees. All right. So if this is 55 degrees, okay, next thing I got to teach you, I will teach you this a little bit more in detail later, but does anybody know the name of this triangle?
Yes. Right triangle?
If it's a right triangle, I need a 90-degree angle. Do I see a 90-degree angle? Nope.
I saw
Equal, well, that's what,
equilateral would have like 60 degrees on every.
Acute triangle.
it is an acute triangle, Michelle. Why do we call it an acute triangle? All of the angles are acute, so it's an acute triangle. Now, it has a name based on the sides, not equilateral. Equilateral means all of them are equal.
A small triangle.
So what do we call a triangle that has no equal sides? Do you know why I say no equal sides? Does it have any equal angles? No. So if it has no equal angles, it has no equal sides. So what do you call a triangle that has no equal sides?
What
Equal means all equal. Equal.
What if there's a triangle that has like one obtuse angle? What's that?
An obtuse triangle.
What if it's a triangle that goes past the
All right. It starts with an S. It's a very weird name.
supplementary?
Complementary. Scaling.
So this triangle would be called an acute scalene triangle.
I'm a scaly.
Acute because all the angles are less than 90. Scalene because no sides are equal because no angles are equal. If no sides are equal, no angles are equal. They go hand in hand. You probably learned it here and there. I'm supposed to teach you this packet that will teach you all of it after the map.
After that.
Because I don't have time to teach you all of this before. But I will teach it to you before SBAC.
Are you teaching us any of those guys?
All right, let's put